What's up, y'all? My name is Otis Winston. I am an actor and I am an author. My book, Stuttering to Success, is dripping in black.
Welcome to the Dripping in Black podcast, where we celebrate Black excellence throughout the Black diaspora. Our special guest host is Dominic Lawson from the Black is America podcast.
What's up, good people all across the world? This is the Dripping in Black podcast. I am your guest host, Dominic Lawson, multi-award winning podcaster, and I also serve as the director of podcasts at Owls Education Company. Just wanted to thank the man behind the glass at Squared for this amazing opportunity to be here with you on this platform. Now, before I continue, as always, you know I got to support the merch, dibkdripshop.com. Now, you may see what I got on now. You won't find that in the merch shop. That's because that's one of the exclusive pieces from the first inaugural Dripping in Black Creators Retreat. We had a phenomenal get together in Detroit, just us creators just talking and workshopping and all the things. So, but if you want to get something else, go to dibkdripshop.com. But let me get back to the task at hand. He is an actor and storyteller with performances in hit shows such as SWAT, The Chi. He's also appeared in all three films in the movie franchise Venom. He's also a two-sport captain at the Ohio State. Apparently, I'm legally obligated to say it that way. And if that wasn't impressive enough, he has a book, Stuttering to Success, sharing how he turned personal obstacles into powerful opportunities. He is the amazing, the talented Otis D. Winston. What's up, my man?
What's up, brother? Thank you for having me, man. I'm honored and blessed to be here.
No, I really appreciate that. Now, before we kind of get into it, man, like, listen, you're an Ohio State guy, S Square is a Michigan State guy. Let's make sure we just have a nice little truce for this next hour. No slander, no nothing. Can we do that?
Look, I don't got nothing to say about the Spartans.
Fair enough.
Boys played well yesterday, so hey, it's all Big Ten from here. You know, I'm rooting for Big Ten.
Fair enough. But you know, as we transition from the Big Ten, let's talk about you, man. Let's talk about who is Otis Winston besides the actor, storyteller, author, you know, sports star from Ohio State. Who is Otis outside of those things?
I'm a father, man. I'm a man who trusts and believes God to do everything that I want to accomplish in my life. Help me along with that as long as I do my part. I'm a brother. I'm a son. You know, I'm a grandfather. You know, I'm everything that I need to be. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we get caught up in what we aren't instead of understanding who we truly are. And I'm a man who strives to make sure others around me are comfortable, you know. And once I learned how to do that, and once I learned how to love me, it was able for me to learn how to love others and give others their dues, because no one's my competition except for me. That's who I am.
You know, let's stay there for a minute. Talk about the process of loving you first. Like it reminds me of something you hear, you know, when you hop on a flight, right? Put your mask on before you put on somebody else's.
Uh-huh.
Talk about that piece of loving you first.
Well, what's crazy is that people don't realize, like, one of the most powerful commandments that Christ says, love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? Mm-hmm. One of the things that we don't realize is that most people don't love themselves. So how can you love someone else? So what I had to learn to do, I had to learn how to truly, truly love me. And I did not realize I didn't love me until I wrote my book. And because when I first wrote my book, it was 169 pages. By the time I got done editing it, it was only 79 pages. What I was doing is I was bleeding on everybody who hurt me. And during the editing process, I healed, and I was able to just put the meat in the book, not the gossip. And what I had to realize is that I spent so many years not loving me. How can I love somebody? I was a nice guy. I'm a nice guy. So I was doing things out of just being a nice guy. Just because I'm a nice guy don't mean I know how to love. Now that I love me, I know how to make sure people who are loving me love me properly, because I'm loving them properly. You can't properly love someone if you don't love yourself. You don't know how to.
Right. You know, what's always interesting and fascinating to me And thank you for that share, Otis. What's always fascinating to me in those moments, like how one, when you're telling your story like that, how it's not just helpful for the person who's hearing it or reading it for that matter, it's also healing for the person that's expressing what's going on, but also too the doors and the opportunities that open up from that. Like, we kind of rattled off your resume a little bit, and I look at your IMDb page, and it's rather impressive, sir.
Thank
Rather impressive, right? But just the doors and the opportunity that comes up with, you hear this phrase, and I forgive me for being cliche, owning your truth and
you. Mhm.
sharing your truth and things of that nature. But it's just amazing how freeing it can be and the doors that open from that. And so clearly you are a testament and you've given a testimony to that. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out.
I appreciate that. And what people fail to realize, man, is you go through life thinking you're accomplishing a lot
Right.
and you get caught up in routine. I was routinely loving people because it was routine. I was used to being in a relationship. So you're in a relationship, you just do what comes natural in a relationship, but you
Hmm.
don't know what really comes with love if I'm not loving me. So I had to go through this process, man, where I sat alone for 3 months, isolated, and I had to own my things that I did wrong. It wasn't everybody else's fault. I ended up where I ended up because of
Right.
choices I made. And once I learned how to take accountability and own my actions, bro, my life changed. It was like the light switch went off. And that's when God was like, okay, I can truly use you now because now you know how to step up and be like, hey, that was my bad. I messed up. That's
For sure.
that's my fault. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
No, absolutely. And I definitely want to get deeper into this conversation as we talk about your book later on, Stuttering to Success.
Mhm.
But you know what? Let's kind of start here if we could, because obviously we have a mutual friend in Crate Digger, who's a alum here at Dripping in Black, but also a fellow Ohioan
Yes, sir.
as well. And one of the things I'm fascinated about when it comes to Ohioans is just the talent that comes from that state. There's yourself, there's Crate, there's other people. I just interviewed Mashomi Robinson, who's a Olympic gold medalist
Yeah.
from your
Northland.
state. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She
Uh,
went to Texas.
yep, absolutely. Yes, she
Absolutely.
did. Yes, she
Mo's
did.
my
Yeah.
girl. Mo's my girl.
I ain't no wrong with that. We did a phenomenal collaboration on a project that I work on, Black is America. But just talk about Ohio, the talent, the people. Why, because if I'm not mistaken, even multiple US presidents have come from that state. So it's something in the water in the state of Ohio that breeds success, excellence, and things of that nature. Just talk about growing up in Ohio a little bit.
What's crazy is I have and this I'm sorry, it's not a shameless plug. I have to say it because this is why I started. I have a company called Buckeye Born Apparel. And
Hmm.
it started with Focus and then it went to Buckeye Born. And one thing that I found out about the Buckeye tree is it's one of the few trees that can grow in all four environments. Just like the Buckeye tree, people born in the Buckeye state are the same way. No matter where you put us or plant us, we're gonna grow.
I hear
We're gonna
that.
grow. We have that tenacity. We have we're we have that determination. We know how to keep fighting no matter what because it's about not stopping, right?
Hmm.
That's all it's really about. It's about giving it day in and day out, not stopping without seeing results. I know a lot of people that grew up around me where we haven't seen results of stuff. I've been doing this acting thing for 15 years, man. And I tell people all the time, if you want to be an actor, you got to be willing to get in the movie, have a line on the movie, tell everybody you in the movie, go to the movie and realize the line that you said is no longer in the movie. And you still got to be excited to know that I still did the work for that.
Right.
Because if you're frustrated that your line got cut and hit the cutting room floor, then you're not going to be cut out for this. And that's how life is. Some things that we work for just don't manifest. Do we quit? Do we give up? No, we keep going. That's us. Ohio people keep going no matter what. Oh man, we're tenacious. We're tenacious. We're the rose that grew out of the concrete, man. We
I hear
always
that.
say, the old cliche, you throw me to the wolves, I'm gonna come back leading the pack, man. That's us. That's what we do. I'm not trying to say we're any better than anyone else. All I'm
Got you.
saying is that we know how to keep going You can overlook me. You can talk about me. You can do whatever you want to do. We're going to keep going. I can look what Bronny just did. Been getting slammed, slammed. And his dad kept saying, go, go, go. Even stepped to Stephen A. Like, hey, stop
Right.
talking about my son. You see what happened a few days ago? Out of nowhere, 17 points. You can't discredit that. But he had to have the fortitude to put the blinders on and keep going. A lot of Ohio people, man, we put the blinders on and we keep going, man, no matter what.
I hear that. I hear that. And thank you for sharing that. And you talked about your acting and your acumen. Like you said, we talked about some of the projects that you've worked on. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you're getting ready to film another project here in the coming weeks or something like that. Where did the acting bug come from? Did that start in school? Was that recently? Or was there always a storyteller inside of you? Just kind of walk me through that process.
What's crazy is that growing up, I stuttered and I couldn't properly talk. And the
Okay.
way I coped with it was watching television. And I talk about it in my book. And what happened is that, you know, I got picked on a lot, mostly at home. I'm the youngest of four boys. My brothers would let me have it. Let me have it. So I would always be in my room watching TV, man. And I would escape the world I was in by fantasizing on TV. And when we moved from Youngstown to Toronto, the one place where I found comfort was like talent shows and on stage. I never stuttered. It was just me being me. But I didn't get the attention I wanted from home because all my brothers were athletes. So here I am on stage, like, look at me trying to do this stuff. I'm not stuttering, but I wasn't getting the attention that I thought I needed from my family. So I put all that on hold. And then I focused on trying to be the best athlete I can be because I wanted my family to notice me. So I put my passion aside and made sports my passion. And then here we are years later, the full circle come around, and now I'm back where I should have always been. But the reason I'm there is because I had to learn how to love me. So
Right.
acting has always been there, man. It's always been my saving grace. When kids ask me what do I do for a living, I said I pretend. I didn't like my life growing up, man. It was hard, man. So I used to pretend I was somebody else. Who didn't think they were Theo Huxtable growing up, bro? I know I
Right.
did. I know I did. I always used to fantasize being someone else because of the escape. We didn't have social media. We couldn't veg out and go down a rabbit hole of TikTok.
Right.
So that's what acting did for me. It really allowed me to use this imagination to create the life that I always wanted.
I definitely, pretended to be Theo Huxtable from time to time. Maybe not when he had the Gordon Gartrell shirt, but you know what I'm saying.
No,
But
you did when you
fair
thought you
enough.
had the right one. When you thought
Fair
you had the
enough.
right one.
You're right. You're right. That's fair. Fair. Not the one Denise made. That was bad. That was bad. But one of the things I'm always fascinated by when it comes to actors and actresses and the craft, right, is that like I don't know if the average person realizes how much of a storyteller the actor is. Like I think they usually attribute it to the writer, the screenwriter, story editor, stuff like that, but not necessarily the actor itself. Walk me through that process of getting ready for a role and really putting Otis's stamp on it. Like, man, like Otis owned that role, and anybody else who come behind it, like they good luck,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah.
talk about that storytelling aspect of your craft, if you don't mind.
Well, it's basically very simple. I do a workshop that I
Okay.
try to invite other actors in to inspire aspiring actors because I know what it was like. 15 years in the game, no agent, no manager. I was just
Oh wow.
grinding, grinding, man, grinding. So I try to let them realize that when you're walking into and you get a script, we don't act, we become.
Okay.
We become what we are trying to portray. And if I don't become that, guess what? I won't properly portray it. I won't properly portray it. When I did Mike, I played Lennox Lewis in the Hulu series Mike. The
Mhm.
crazy thing is, I was only supposed to be there for one day. One day, I was supposed to go in there and just do the boxing. That's it. When I walked out, I didn't even know what character I was playing. I was just going to do the boxing stunt stuff. because they asked me if I would do it. I just got done doing The Outlaws with Pierce Brosnan and Adam Devine. I was like, absolutely, I'll do it. They flew me to Mobile, Alabama, where my mom and dad is from. I had no idea who I was playing. I walk into get the makeup and everything, hair, and I go into my trailer and I see these trunks that said Lennox. I'm like, I'm playing Lennox Lewis. When I stepped outside, they saw me. They was like, this dude looked like Lennox Lewis, to the point to where I went from just one day to 2 weeks, one scene to 3 different scenes, speaking lines. And I tried to make sure I became, even when I was like, with the accent, having to speak like him, the mannerisms, I had to really go into that part, because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want, let's say if Lennox saw it, I ain't want him to look at him like, man, I didn't approach the press conference like that. When he bit
Right.
me, I wasn't really trying to fight him. But when they saw it, they were like, look, them dudes look like they were really scrapping, because old boy he really bit me during the filming of that on the leg.
Okay.
He told me, Trevante said, get ready. Just get ready. I'm going to do something. Make sure you're ready. And when they said action, he bit me. So the reaction was real, because he didn't bite me hard, but just the fact that he bit me to get me to react.
Right.
He became, I became. And that's what acting is. You become that part. You live that part. You breathe that part, to the point to where they don't know where you begin or where that part ends.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Gotcha. I'm curious. One last question about this before we move on, because I noticed that sometimes when you do become, sometimes actors get stuck there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then typecast happens and stuff like that. How do you become and then unbecome?
Well,
If that question makes sense.
it makes sense. You want to know who's not been typecast, who plays him to a T every role?
Okay.
Denzel.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Denzel. He's him
Absolutely.
unless he's doing like a character actor, unless he's playing like Malcolm X when he did that, and Frank Lucas. He still put him on it. You see what I'm saying?
No, for sure. Like even when he was in Gladiator 2, it was still Denzel. And I was like,
Still
how did he pull
Denzel.
that off?
Still Denzel. You know what I'm saying? He's the GOAT to me, man. And
Right.
so you pattern yourself by watching people like that who so here's one of the answers to that, because
Okay.
I just figured this out for myself. If you don't know who you are, truly know who you are, then how can you become?
Fair enough.
You'll mimic everything that you touch. You'll mimic everything that you touch. Now that I know who I am, I can play something and come back to me because I know me. Denzel can be everything he needs to be because he know who he is. He's Denzel to the core. Jamie's Jamie to the core. Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks to the core.
Mhm.
Tommy Lee Jones is Tommy Lee Jones to the core. Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise to the core. Even Tom Cruise, you always see Tom Cruise.
Right.
You always see all the right moves. One of the movies that I saw from the first time, he's still acting the same way. From Outsiders to this to
Right.
Mission Impossible, it's still him, and I love it. You just got to know who you are to become and pull it off properly. To me, that's my own personal opinion.
No, that makes sense. And it makes sense that you are saying that because I think it also goes back to what you were saying earlier about loving yourself. Because I
Mhm.
think also if you love yourself and love on yourself, right? Unbecoming and going back to who you are and knowing yourself is a lot easier as well. Because it's one thing to know who you are. There's also something else to like love who you are. Like, you know what? I feel comfortable going back to who I am and
Yeah.
who I'm all about and stuff like that. So no, that makes sense. That makes sense. And
Think about this. Will
yeah.
Smith talked about it in his book when he did 6 Degrees of Separation,
Hmm.
how he fell in love with his co-star. If you read Will's book, that was at a time where Will was going through a lot of stuff.
Right.
So when you're going through stuff, the Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So if I'm double-minded in anything, I'm unstable in everything. And Will talked about how he did method acting and he got stuck. He got stuck. And to the point where he said, I will never, ever do that again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I read his book and I listened to his book, his audio is amazing. One of the best audios I ever heard. That made me realize that, okay, I need to find me. Reading Will's story and watching everything that happened and transpired over his life within the past 3-4 years, that made me realize that, okay, I need to do a deep, deep, deep dive because that's someone who I look up to. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. Thank you for sharing that. And that kind of leads me, to your book, Stuttering to Success, a powerful title, by the way. What became the moment, the inflection point that, what, okay, I've had this epiphany and it's time to share this with the world. What was that moment where it's like, it's time to write a book? It's time to share this with the world.
Well, I had it in my spirit for 8 years, and I just
Okay.
kept putting it out because I'm like, I gotta act, I gotta act, I gotta act. I gotta do this. And, I'm being a father, and I had full custody over my children, and we were raising them, and I'm like making sure we're at their games, but I gotta act, I gotta act, I gotta speak, I gotta act, I gotta speak. And I just felt the spirit say, I gave you what to do. When I turned 50, that's when it started really, really like knocking on the door.
Okay.
Pentecost, the number is 50. Pentecost also means a sound. So basically, I felt God say, there's a sound in you that I got to get out of you before you turn 51.
Okay.
There's something that has to come out of you. And I wrote the book in 8 days.
Oh, wow.
8 days, 8 days. And that number 8 is very significant because David was the 8th son. They said 8 is the number of new beginnings. So basically, he said, I got a new beginning I'm trying to do with you, but you got to get this book out of you. And I had to sit down. Now, I wrote it in 8 days, but it took us 3 months to edit it.
Of course.
And in 8 days, I vomited everything that's ever happened to me out. And in 3 months, I realized that 179 pages was me bleeding on everybody that hurt me. And I had to get that 179 pages down to 79 pages because while I was reading and editing it, that's when I was healing. So there was something I had to do to heal. The book was my healing process.
I appreciate the 179 pages because I think there's something to be said about that part of the healing process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to know, you have to put out there what did hurt you, or what was the outside manifestation of that triggered the hurt for you, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because you said something earlier about like accountability and this, that, and the other. But I think there's something to be said about that. So I appreciate you sharing that you had to have those 179 pages because that's part of the process.
Yeah.
Right. Even though it probably wasn't great for the book, right? You
Mhm.
had to edit it down and stuff like that. But I appreciate that process. And I
Yeah.
don't know if we talk about that enough because we are, as a society, we're quick to like, oh, this person wronged me, that person wronged me. Listen, I'm God working on me. Okay. I'm one of them people, right? But I appreciate you sharing that part of the process. And so kudos to you on that.
Thank you. Thank you. The 179 pages was for me.
Yeah.
That was for me to look, reflect, heal. The 79 pages was for whoever God wants to minister to.
I hear that.
Because how can he minister if all I'm doing is bleeding? My bleeding would bleed upon others. I didn't want that. I wanted people to read this and be like, oh, I can do it too. Not, oh man, why did he? It wasn't no woe is me. If I got through this, you can get through it.
Right. Right. What do you say to people, Otis, who feel held back from their limiting beliefs or the people who wrong them per se? Like what do you say to people like that?
I tell people all the time, because I was one of these people that hold on. I talk to my daughter a lot. I'm like, girls, you holding on is stopping you from truly reaching your full potential. And she's finally getting it. And I'm watching her blossom. And I tell people all the time, you think you're hurting somebody by holding on to the hurt that they gave you. You're not. You're hurting you. You're hurting you because you can't reach your full potential because you're too busy holding back. If somebody hurt me in loving, right? And all I do is hold on to that hurt. And someone who I truly need comes into my life and they can love me properly, but I'm holding on to old hurt of being loved improperly. I will miss a chance of being properly loved because I'm holding on to something that I should have let go. I should have let go. Man, so I'm not missing anything that God has for me. And the only way I can do that is say, okay, I forgive. They asked Christ, how often should you forgive? He says 70 times 7, and that's a day. He ain't saying a year. He said that's a day.
Right.
Forgiveness is for me. It's for
I was
us.
just going to say that because that's you hear that often, right? Forgiveness isn't for the other person. Forgiveness is for you, right? It's
Absolutely.
for us, right? That's no. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, yeah.
Appreciate you saying
And
that.
once I realized that, so I would tell people, if you're unhappy with your life, you change it. You change it by forgiving. You change it by letting go. You change it by handling it different. Like I couldn't control the family I came into. I'd had no control of being born by Donald and Barbara Winston. I had no control of that. I had no control of starting with my stutter. I had no control of people making fun of me when I stuttered.
Right.
The only control I have is how do I use that power now? Because those who once made fun of me now hear that I'm not stuttering. Now, do I get on a bullhorn and be like, you raggedy mother? No, I don't. I don't.
Right.
I say, you know what? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for teaching me what I needed to learn.
Right. Right. Let me ask you this though, because usually, well, not usually, it's one thing to have that forgiveness outside of the family's system, right? But you also talked about some of that making fun of stuff like that, the stuttering inside the family system. How do you differentiate, or maybe you don't differentiate between outside the family system and inside the family system as far as like what that healing looks like? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, we hold on to it harder when it's family.
That's
I
fair.
know I did.
Yeah.
When my dad went away, I held on to that.
Hmm.
I was like, oh no, I'm gonna make you feel the way you made me feel. I'm
Okay.
gonna make you. It wasn't doing anybody no good. So we think that we can accomplish what we really, really want to accomplish, and you can't. You can't be free if something is weighing you down. How can you be free if something is weighing you down? So I
Right.
had to let go of whatever was weighing me down so I can be free. So if it's family, 9 times out of 10, it is family. People get ungodly things done to them by their family. By their family. Now, I'm not saying continue to allow them to do those things to you. What I'm saying is don't allow what they did make you not be who you were truly created to be. Don't give no one that power. I have that power. I'm not giving nobody power over how I feel, my mood, how I react, how I respond. No, you don't have that power over me. I
Right.
take my power back. I dictate that, not you. So that's how we got to do it. We got to let family, we got to give grace. We got to give people grace, man. That's something I had to learn. Grace is a word that we throw around a lot that we don't use a lot. Same with love.
No, that's
People,
fair. That's
people
fair.
don't know what real love
Great.
is.
But I imagine though, and you probably can attest to this, grace, but with boundaries,
Absolutely.
because again, like you do have to. We talked earlier about loving on yourself, but also sometimes you got to protect yourself, right? Sometimes you got to, kind of going back to the boxing reference, you got to put the defenses up a little bit,
You
right?
do. You
Right?
do.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, here's the thing. I'm never going to be in something that's going to harm me.
Yeah.
So if something is harming me, I forgive you, but I keep going back to what's harming me. That's dumb on me. That goes back to me not loving me. I don't want to learn how to be in something that's toxic. I don't want to learn how to live in a toxic environment because it's just my norm. No, my norm is love. I want love. I want real love, but I gotta know that, oh no, you're not good for me, but I'm not gonna when I see you, I'm not gonna be mad at you. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? You good? Okay, let me keep it moving. I'm not letting you in that space. Like you said, I do have to protect me and my
For
boundaries.
sure. For sure. One of the things I hear you talking about, I'm gonna ask this question, then we'll move on to I want to talk about your time at Ohio State and the sports and things of that nature. One of the things that I hear as a recurring theme in this conversation is being a dad, being a father. I've heard you mention that multiple times. That sounds important to you, right? And you also talked about your dad leaving and things of that nature. Talk about the importance of black fatherhood, because there are stereotypes, there are myths, there are
Yeah.
whatever. Even though there's literally stats from the CDC that contradicts those myths, but they're still out there,
Yeah.
right? Talk about the importance of black fatherhood and what that means to you.
Man, that means everything to me, man. Whew, you hit you. I had a speech yesterday, and you like one of the students. You just asked a question that really makes me emotional. We got full custody over my kids. I think when they were 11 and 9, or 13 and 11, one of the two, and it was the best day of my life, man. My children are my reason why. And I remember when I was going after this goal, I mean, a lot happened on March 10th. I mean, March 1st, 2010. A lot happened. It was like my bottom fell out. And to end up getting back to that space to where my kids could see me, I never wanted to chase my dream and be the reason why when my kids got older that they sat on someone's couch and asked that physician, why didn't my dad stay? So I never wanted to be that reason. So my children um, have always been my reason why, and they're the reason why I wanted to show them that it doesn't matter how you start. The only thing that matters is how you finish. I had a choice. They didn't ask to be here. That was something that their mom and I decided, right? So I used to say this all the time, man. I'm sacrificing for my kids. I would wake up in the middle, do it like a third hour. I would be working in Chicago on Chicago PD. I would drive all through the night, get there at 6 o'clock, do my set, get off set, get in the car, drive back home, make sure I catch my daughter or my son's basketball game, volleyball game, wherever it was going on. And I always told myself I was sacrificing. I'm sacrificing for y'all. I'm sacrificing for y'all. And one day I had this epiphany. I wasn't sacrificing, bro. It's not sacrificing. I was parenting. I was parenting. I'm looking for this word so I can get this clap on the back that I'm sacrificing. No, I'm parenting.
Right.
And that's my greatest honor is parenting. The hardest job I've ever had in my life, but the most fulfilling one has
Right.
been being a father.
I hear that. I
Being
hear
a
that.
father.
No, absolutely. Like I said, it felt like a recurring theme in this conversation, even not just from your own experience. You were talking about LeBron and Bronny and him defending his son in public.
Absolutely.
It also made me think about LeVar Ball and his boys, and like being proactively like, listen, my boys are great, my boys are awesome, and this and the other. And I think for some reason, we talked about the myth. We also should probably have a conversation, not like me and you, but like just overall about like how it's okay for the black dad to outwardly, openly champion their kids. Like
Oh,
my
yeah.
kids are great. Our kids are this. My kids are that. Right. And also defend them when need be. So I thought that may be something that resonated with you.
It really did. I did a movie a year and a half ago, probably 2 years ago, called Red One. I did it with The Rock in down
Hmm.
in Atlanta. And I remember when him and I had this conversation, and we both was talking about sports. And then I told him that my son is currently at Ohio State. He's a high jumper. I played ball and I high jumped, and my high jump record is still there over 30 years
Hmm.
later. And he asked me, he said, "Do you think your son is going to break your record?" I said, "I think he's going to break it." I said, "He was born to break it." I said, he is born to do greater than me. I said, I told DJ, I said, you understand this. He's from a legacy. His grandfather, then his father, and then him.
Right.
My son is from a legacy. me, now him. So legacy is huge, but I champion my children. Y'all expect LeBron not to champion Bronny? People saying, oh, he's only there because of his dad. And this people fail to realize this young man had open heart surgery not too long ago.
Right.
And he's back and he's doing this. Of course, I'm gonna be there to do anything I can do to say, look, bro, whatever you need. I know you probably don't need anything from little old me, but I'm gonna be here and be like, look, I support that 150% because we don't do it enough. We don't do it enough. I know what it was like to stand on the sideline and not have someone there to cheer me on and to get scared. And my father wasn't there. It wasn't that he didn't want to be there, he just couldn't be there. I know what that felt like. So, can you imagine how I feel when I see my son and my son popped his Achilles like 8 weeks ago. It was the worst feeling I ever felt in my life. But the greatest feeling was I was there. I was able to carry him off the track. I was able to carry him to the car. I was able to be there when he got his surgery done. And I was able to look at him and say, you are going to bounce back. And I'm going to be here. I'm not just here during the good times. I'm not just here when you're holding up the trophy to win. I got to be here to help you get through the mud. I have to be here. And that's what I love so much about the Bronny and LeBron thing. LeBron was dealing with so much, and then a few days ago to see Bronny score those 17, man, that's amazing to me because
Right.
his father had to endure and his son had to endure the ridicule of everything and everybody because people love to see who they think on top not be on top anymore. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I'm going to champion anything. I tell fathers all the time, champion your son. Tell him you love him. Tell him he's great. Tell him he can accomplish whatever he put his head and his mind to, because that's what we're supposed to do. My nephews just won a state championship yesterday. Their dad, T, he had them boys like training since they were little tights. And to watch three brothers get on the court, two seniors and a sophomore, and win the Division II state title, I said the
Pretty
dad
awesome.
deserved the trophy because when everybody was saying they couldn't do it when they were kids, he stayed there. He had them in the gym. He made sure they were there. He wiped their tears. He picked them up off the floor. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be hard on them, but we're also supposed to love them and nurture them.
Right. Right. No, it's interesting. It always amazes me when we talk about the idea of nepotism, when you were talking about earlier, like he's only in the NBA because his dad.
Yeah.
Listen, when other communities pass down law firms, other communities pass down other businesses, we have multitude of legacies at like Harvard, Yale, Columbia's, and stuff like that. But that's not a problem. But this black father putting on this, all right, never mind. That's neither
Bro,
here nor there. Let me get on, not get on
let
my
me get where I
soapbox.
need to get in Hollywood. They're going to be
Let,
like, his kids don't, nope. His
listen,
grandkids, nope. They
right.
coming up under everything.
Absolutely. 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 Let's talk about your time in sports in Ohio State. Like, what was the first sport you tried and really like, you know what, I kind of like this sport thing. But I also know that you was talking about your brothers and being in sports. So kind of talk about all of that if you don't mind.
What's crazy is that my very first sport that I tried was baseball. Well, I tried
Okay.
football and I failed miserably at a young age. And then we moved from Youngstown to Toronto. Baseball was my first sport. That was my first love, and I became very, very pretty good at it. And then went from baseball to football, and football, like I just started to thrive. And I talk about it in my book, man. I almost scored a touchdown, my very first touchdown, and I didn't. And I came home and I told my mom, and I was excited. And I said, "I almost scored a touchdown." She said, "But you didn't." And boy, it broke
I bet. I
it
bet.
broke me. But what happened was, I think a week or two later, I ended up scoring three because I wanted to prove to her that, okay, if that's what I need to do, then that's what I'm going to do. So
Right.
baseball and football were the sports that became very, very easy to me. And I just ended up passing that off to the side and got focused on track and basketball. And
Okay.
those were the two that I just rode into the sunset until I couldn't ride it no no longer. And I did it in Toronto. Then I went from Toronto High School to the Ohio State University, and it was rough, man. I averaged, I think, a double double or triple double in high school, and I jumped over 7 feet. Was a 3-time high jump state champion, sophomore, junior, and senior year in high school, and I won a long jump state champion my senior year. And then to get to Ohio State and sit at the end of the bench and walk in and have the coach say that I would never play there, and to not leave and stay there, and the same coach who told me I would never play there end up having to start me my junior year, and then
Mm.
name me the captain my senior year after I redshirted and came back from track because I qualified for the 96 Olympic trials. It was just a whirlwind, man. And it was something that I kept like wanting. People ask me, okay, my son is smart. He's way smarter than me. He was a basketball kid. He didn't start track until he was a junior in high school, and track just became his thing. But he chose track over basketball. I didn't have a me in my life. I didn't know what to choose. So I kept doing both. Now, track was my more natural sport.
Right.
Basketball, I just had a coach that, I don't know, he just saw different things than I saw. So that made me look at life differently, as well as being a former coach. I coach differently. I coach every kid it's like parenting. You can't parent the kids the same.
No, you cannot.
And
No,
if
you
you
cannot.
think you're gonna parent every kid the same way, guess what? You're gonna mess up as a parent.
Yeah, for sure.
They're different. Just like athletes, they're
Right.
different. You can't coach the kids the same. They all need different things.
Right.
And that's what I learned. I'm glad I learned it.
No, and speaking of learning from sports, what are, because not everybody plays sports, right? But I think sports is, first of all, I think sports is the best reality TV known to man, right? Like there's nothing like it,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
So there's that. But number two, I feel like there's so many life lessons that you get from sports. What are some of those life lessons you got personally from playing sports?
You can work your butt off and not get the opportunity, but you gotta keep working
Okay.
because your time just hasn't come yet.
And that
So
relates to what you were saying earlier about, like, you're in the film, you get the one line get cut, but you still enjoyed the process. So I
absolutely,
appreciate that. Yeah.
absolutely. Practice, practice, practice. Not a game. We're talking about practice? Practice. Yeah, practice is where it all happens.
Yeah.
Just like now, I watch different films. That's me. That's my In sports, we would call that studying tape. I
Hmm.
was studying the game film. When I watch TV shows, I'm studying tape. I'm studying actors because I have to learn more. So the same way with sports, man, you practice and you practice and you practice and you learn how to give and be dedicated. You wake up and you crack a dawn. Till this day, I still work out 5 days a week. It's in me. It's embedded in me. I can get on set and be on set for 17 hours and stay locked in because that's all I know. I've been doing it since I was what 10, 11, I mean 12 on up. Like, because sports started in middle school for me. I was 12 years old in 7th grade and it started and I just kept going and kept going and kept going. And so that's how it is as an athlete. You have to be locked in. You got to have those blinders on. And if you don't have those blinders on, then you're going to fall short. My bonus son about to go to YSU to play football. And we tell him all the time, give yourself these next 4 years, you just stay focused on you, selfishly focused on you in this order: God, school, football, you. God, school, football, you. Family is after that. You do that, everything will take care of itself. Kids just lose it. They think they got time, and you don't. You don't. Time is more precious than love. You can give your I can love you today, right? And
Right.
not love you tomorrow.
Right.
But what we're doing right now, I can never get that back. I'm spending time with you. I can never get that back. So who you spend time with and what you spend time on is the most important thing in the world.
I want to ask you a follow up real quick before we kind of transition and start rounding third, heading home here to use a baseball reference. you talk about that selfish piece, and I think there's a level of selfishness. I kind of call it responsible selfishness, where
Mhm.
it's like you do have to make sure, and we kind of talked about this earlier, putting your mask on before you put somebody else's mask on, like making sure you're straight. And one phrase I remember hearing from, I think it was a preacher, guarding your focus. Like you have to guard that focus, right? And so
Yeah.
when you were talking just now, that's what it made me think of. Talk about that responsible selfishness. Like sometimes, like listen, like y'all cool, y'all my friends, but I gotta go train. Y'all cool, y'all family, but I gotta go read these lines. Like talk about that selfishness for a minute, Otis, if you don't mind.
Responsible selfishness to me is I haven't gotten to where I want to go, right?
Right.
And I'm hanging out with people who have no responsibilities that they have to, like, they're required to pay or do or whatever.
Right.
And I'm hanging out with them and I spend time with them instead of focusing on what I really need to do. I got a big audition that's coming up, or I start filming and I'm not ready. I haven't studied my lines because I already got the part. I got the part. I don't got to study my lines. I don't got to worry about showing up on set ready. That's very, very, very irresponsible. Selfish to me, responsible selfishness is making sure that I'm I stay ready so I don't have to worry about getting ready. I say that all the time. That's why I stay in the gym. I stay ready. I don't have to worry about getting ready.
Right.
That's a responsible selfishness. I take care of my health. That's responsible selfishness. I got children that I'm still looking. Yes, they're adults now, but I got grandchildren as well. So me being irresponsible with my body, eating whatever I want, living any way I want, doing anything I want to do, and then cutting my lifespan short because I'm unhealthy now. That's very irresponsible, and that's not responsible selfishness. Responsible selfishness is making sure that I put all my ducks in a row because I never know when that time is going to come where it says lights out.
Right.
Responsible selfishness is making sure I'm ready if that phone call ever comes. Hey Otis, we want you to come and play this role of such and such. You ready? Absolutely, I'm ready. Absolutely, I'm ready. That's responsible selfishness. And people don't realize that. It's like, and then when that comes and I'm not ready, the people who I was hanging with, are they going to be able to pick up the slack for me?
Right.
Can I call on them to pay my bills? Could I sleep on their couch if I get evicted? That's not responsible selfishness. Responsible selfishness is being the best version of you at all times and loving you so much that you can lend a hand to those who need. I can't lend a hand if I'm always there needing my hand out.
For sure. And Driven and Black Family, these are, I'm pretty sure these are some of the tenets and more and lessons and life lessons that Otis gives you in his book. Please sure to check that out in the show notes and purchase the book. I imagine it's a phenomenal book that's definitely going to help somebody. So listen, man, what's next for you? What's, like I said, I know you're getting ready to start filming on a project here soon. I know you probably can't spill the beans on what that is. That's fine. But kind of talk about what's next for you. What you got in the pipeline? What's next? What's going on? Just kind of share a little bit about that if you don't mind.
What's next is I'm constantly auditioning, constantly auditioning. Got some stuff work in the works, filming wise. I'm doing a lot with this book, a lot of speaking and promoting the book. We've sold over 1,000 books have sold so
Wow.
far.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you, thank you. It's on my website, the Buck Up Born Apparel website. You can get it out there. We got it. We got the hard copy.
There it is.
The hard copy. We got the paperback as well on my website. And I'm just getting ready for these speaking engagements, man, and engaging the community and making these kids realize that, hey, if Otis can do it, then so can I. That's my goal. I want people to look at me and say, man, he did it. He stuttered. He was told he'd never be able to properly talk, and then he graduated from The Ohio State University with a communications degree, and he's an actor and he speaks. It's like
Hmm.
my once issue that I had became my gift. It became my gift. And I want people to understand that. So I'm just trying to get out here in the community, man, and do my thing and do my part. Do my part.
I hear that. Now, listen, man, you've already given so many gems and nuggets and everything in this conversation, in your book, and throughout your life. And before I, ask this last question, I just want to say again, thank you so much for coming on the Dripping in Black podcast and sharing your wisdom and sharing your knowledge. And S Squared is going to queue up something here for you just as a show, as a token of our appreciation for sharing your time and your abilities and your gifts and your words and everything with us. And so while he's getting that squared away, I want to ask you this, man. Listen, you've already inspired so many people from inside your family system, outside, and everything else in between, man. Like, what's that? And you've shared some of this, but I want to crystallize it just as a final bow on this conversation. What's a lasting piece of advice you can give somebody who just feels stuck, man? Like, listen, like I'm doing the auditions. I'm going to the tryouts. Like, and we're not just talking about adults, we're talking about kids. Like, I'm going to the tryouts. I'm going to the auditions. I want to read for Othello, but I don't know if I got it, right? Like,
Yeah.
talk to that person about if they feel stuck. Like, what advice you got for them?
I can give them the advice that was given to me. I remember the first time I met Jamie Foxx, and I was talking to him, and he said something to me. He probably don't even remember saying this to me. He said something to me that changed my life. He said he's never seen. He said this business is crazy. It's crazy. A lot of people want to do it. A lot of people want to get in this business. It's crazy, but you can do it. You can do it. He said, but this is the only way you're gonna be able to do it. And he said this. He says, I've never seen anyone not give up that didn't make it. If you want to make it, you can't give up. You just got to keep going. He said, I've never seen someone who didn't give up, not make it. And that's my advice to people. Whatever you want, even if it's not happening, keep going because you control it. It's like me. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I keep doing it. I keep doing it. I don't care. You know how many auditions I've only done what 40 something movies and TV shows. I've had over 400, 500 auditions. You know how many no's those that is?
Right.
You know how many no's that is? But I don't care about the no's because all I need is that one yes. And that one yes can change your life. That one yes can change your life. And the last thing I will leave y'all with is this. And I put this on the back of all my shirts, Never allow your talent to take you where your character can't keep you. Your talent will get you in the room. Your character is what keeps you there. And that's the last line in my book as well. Never allow your talent to take you where your character can't keep
I love that, and I appreciate that sentiment, and I think that's definitely a sentiment that it's one of those things where it's simple yet profound, and I don't mean that in a
you.
derogatory,
Absolutely.
negative way.
Absolutely.
It's like it's very simple, but it's extremely profound. So I appreciate that, brother, for sure. So, like I said, one of the things we love to do here on Dripped in Black is immortalize, our time together and your time here on Dripping in Black. And so what S Squared is going to pull up here shortly is just a memento to say thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your time and all the things in between.
Absolutely.
There we go. So that is a magazine cover of my guy Otis D. Winston. Hey man, that's a pretty dope cover right there,
I
man.
love that
I
cover, man.
see,
I need that. I need to put that on my
man.
socials.
Man, listen, I see you with the Carl Thomas turtleneck thing going, man. I love it. I ain't mad at
Hold on.
it. I love it.
I wish I never met her.
There it is. See, there it is, brother. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, that's stupid. That's funny. Okay.
But that's just a memento to say thank you so much for coming on the Dripping in Black podcast, and really appreciate you for doing this, man. Any last words, any last things you want to plug? Make sure you plug the apparel and the book and everything else in between, if
Oh
you don't
yeah,
mind, sir.
man. My apparel, of course, buckeyebornapparel.com. You can get out there, you get the Buckeye Born Apparel, you get the Focus Apparel, and of course, man, you can get the book, man. You can get the book Stuttering to Success, And last thing I would say, stutter is a metaphor. Everybody has a stutter in your life. Mine just started off physically. I had other stutters as I continue to grow. And whatever your stutter is, always remember this. Your stutter is not your stumbling block. It's your stepping stone. And your stutter should never make you stop. It's just a pause. It's a hesitation. And regroup, refocus, rethink, and keep going.
Man, that's it. That's it right there. Otis, thank you so much for coming on the show. And Dripping in Black family, thank you for allowing us to have this conversation and you being a part of it. Again, make sure you go and check out everything that Otis just mentioned. Also, make sure you check out the merch shop, dibkdripshop.com. Thank you, S Squared, for letting me be the guest host again. And thank you, Dripping in the Black family, for allowing me to serve you in this role. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. And also thank you for subscribing. And until next time, be kind, be excellent on purpose. It's a choice, but above all else, keep it black. Peace.
On a special episode of Dripping in Black podcast, we go behind the scenes at the inaugural Dripping in Black Creators Retreat.
Thanks for vibing with us. Keep the conversation going. Like, subscribe, and follow at DIBK20 on social media. Visit drippinginblack.com for all things Dripping in Black and dibkdripshop.com for your drip and other merch. Until next time, be well and much love.
You have just experienced a Dripping in Black production.